Hey everybody, welcome back to another installment of Beatles News Roundup here on Vinyl Rewind. This is a series where I summarize the various news articles that have come up over the previous month, and in this episode we're talking about September 2024, and the big announcement is the reissue campaign of the Beatles on Capitol Records. Now this coincides with the 60th anniversary of the Beatles tour of North America, and they have all kinds of different items available for sale, and I've talked a lot about this already in a previous video, so if you haven't watched it yet, go check that out. But to summarize, this is the first roughly 6 albums put out by Capitol between January 1964 and March of 1965. Now, these are, as far as we understand it, a pure analog remaster. And they come with a booklet with essays written by Beatle historian Bruce Spicer. Now, these 6 releases are available individually, but you can splurge and get the box set, which compiles all 6 of these releases, plus a bonus 7th release that's only available in this box set, which is the Beatles story. It's a double LP, and this is largely a Beatles spoken word documentary. And this was put together by Capitol for, I believe, the holiday season in 1964, and it basically chronicles the Beatles' rise to fame up to that point, and it features some interview clips with the Beatles as well as some music, but this is largely told through 1960s narrator types, you know what I mean? Now, these are currently up for pre-order and they're set to ship by November 22nd. And in other anniversary news, we got the announcement of the 50th anniversary remix of George Harrison's 4th album, Living in the Material World. Now, technically, this would be the 51st anniversary since the album came out in 1973, but as Olivia Harrison put it, what's the rush? And honestly, I'm glad they took their time, because this album, apart from being remixed, it also includes 12 previously unreleased tracks, and this is available in many different formats. But the crown jewel of this is the Super Deluxe box set. Now, this is limited to 5,000 copies, and you get the album available as a double LP, a double CD, as well as Blu-ray, and you also get a bonus 7-inch which features an exclusive song to the box set. There's also a hardbound book, as well as a 12-page recording notes booklet, and this provides an in-depth chronological account of the album's creation. And this is pretty interesting. I think it goes heavy into the details, definitely there for super fans. Now, the album is also available as a double LP or double CD, and both of these releases include a poster as well as a 12-page booklet, and they have the 12 session outtakes that were previously unreleased. And the album is also available as a standalone LP or CD, and the George Harrison web store has an exclusive purple vinyl variant. Now, the remix is set to be released on November 15th, but it's available for pre-order now. And in John Lennon news, we learned some tidbits about his friendship with Elton John in a new documentary called Elton John Never Too Late, which premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival earlier this month. And in the documentary, Elton John talks about their friendship, doing mountains of cocaine, getting incredibly paranoid as Andy Warhol was knocking on their door trying to get in to talk to them. But he also talks about a sweet moment when John and Yoko reconciled at a show that Elton John asked John to perform at. But yeah, the documentary will be available in a limited theatrical release in November, and then it'll be available on Disney Plus in December. And other documentary news, we have the theatrical release of One Hand Clapping. This is the newly restored 4K version of the documentary film that was filmed over 4 days at Abbey Road Studios. And this is Paul McCartney and Wings recording the live album One Hand Clapping, which also got a release on vinyl earlier this year. Just go to the One Hand Clapping website to find out if the movie is screening near you. And in other film news, the highly fictional depiction of Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney coming up with the song Ebony Ivory premiered at the Fantastic Fest earlier this year. And it's one of those things that probably should have been a short sketch and not a feature film. But yeah, it is a highly fictional take at what led to the creation of that single from 1982, and it comes from a director who has a huge disdain for that song. Just as an example, Stevie Wonder visits McCartney in Scotland, and he gets there by rowboat. He crosses the Atlantic by rowboat. And in the film, you never actually hear the song. No instruments are ever played, and they seem like they don't want to be in each other's presence. So I don't know much beyond that. IndieWire gave it a B+. Alamo Drafthouse got the distribution rights, so it will be screened at some point, at some time, but we don't know yet. So be on the lookout for that if you are interested in something like this. And in Ringo Starr news, he had to cancel the last 2 dates of the All-Star Band Tour. This was for Philadelphia and New York City. Ringo came down with a cold and his doctor advised him to get some rest. Now, the guy is 84. I know he loves performing. I'm sure he didn't want to do this, but honestly, you got to take care of yourself, so I have much respect for Ringo. We want him around for many, many years to come, so get well soon, Ringo. And in new Beatles merchandise news, we have the announcement of the second collaboration between the fashion brand Alice and Olivia and the Beatles. This follows their first collaboration in 2018. Prices range from $250 on up to $2,000, and the collection is set to release on November 14th. Now, if those prices are a little high, you are in luck, because over on the Beatles official web store, there is a slew of new Beatles apparel, and again, all revolving around the 60th anniversary of the Beatles' first tour of North America. And in this month in Beatles history, the group recorded Love Me Do twice in September of 1962. The first time was with Ringo Starr, but still producer George Martin felt it wasn't good enough, and so he hired a session drummer Andy White to come in, and that is the version that went on to become a huge single, and it was released on the album Please Please Me. It's probably the version you've heard, and the easiest way to tell is that you can hear tambourine, and that is Ringo relegated to tambourine on that version. But it is interesting to listen to Andy White's version as well as Ringo's version and Pete Best's version to decide for yourself which one you like better. All right, everybody, that will do it for today. I did put a couple of videos up here for you to check out, including that video I mentioned earlier where I go into depth on why you should probably avoid that new box set with the Beatles on Capitol. Until then, thank you all so much for watching, but I especially want to thank my members over on Patreon. I'm your Vinyl Geek, and I'll catch you on the flip side.